I wasn't always a hitman. I used to be just another kid from Tijuana, running around, causing trouble. My mom tried to keep me on the straight and narrow, but that life didn't seem to want me. The streets called, and I answered. Pretty soon, I was making money. Real money. Enough to get me out of the slums. Enough to give my mom a better life. But it came with a cost. My name is Elias Maldonado, and I'm a sicario, a hitman for the cartel. It started small, roughing up guys who owed money, scaring people into line. Then came the real jobs, the ones where you don't come back unless your target is dead, and I was good at it, too good. Sad thing is, I actually somewhat enjoyed it. Started out as just a quick come up, but the money pulled me in deeper and deeper. Some serious cash. $75,000, $125,000, $200,000, $250,000, all the way up to $400,000, depending on target. But there was one job that was different. A guy named Santiago Flores, the big shot who had pissed off the wrong people. My bosses wanted him dead and they wanted it done messy. Send a message, you know. They gave me his location. A rundown shack on the outskirts of town. Easy enough. Or so I thought. The place reeked of mildew and rotting wood. The door creaked when they pushed it open. The inside was dark, only a sliver of light coming from the broken blinds. The air was thick, heavy with the stench of mold and something else. Something metallic. Blood. I could feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, but I ignored it. I've been in worse places. I moved through the house, my footsteps echoing off the walls. My heart pounded in my chest, but I kept my breath steady. This was just another job, just another mark. I found him in the back room, hunched over a table. He didn't even look up when I walked in. His back was to me, his shoulders rising and falling with each breath. He was muttering something, but I couldn't make it out. Flores, I said, my voice steady. He turned slowly, like he had all the time in the world. His eyes met mine, and for a moment, I saw something in them that made me hesitate. Fear? No. More like acceptance. Like he'd been waiting for me. You're here, he said, his voice calm. I knew you'd come. Time's up, old man, I replied, pulling out my gun. He didn't flinch, didn't even blink. He just smiled. A slow, sad smile that sent a shiver down my spine. You don't understand, he said. You're not the first. You won't be the last. I ignored his ramblings and stepped closer, my finger on the trigger. I was done listening. But then, something happened. The lights flickered and the air grew colder. The shadows in the room seemed to move, to shift and twist. I shook my head, trying to clear the fog that was settling in my brain. What the hell? I muttered. But before I could react, he lunged at me. He was faster than I expected, his hands grabbing at my arms, his nails digging into my skin. We struggled, knocking over the table and sending papers flying. He was stronger than he looked, and for a moment, I was on the defensive. Then, I managed to push him off, sending him crashing into the wall. I raised my gun, ready to end it, but he was already on his feet, a knife in his hand. Where the hell did that come from? He slashed at me, and I felt the blade slicing through my jacket, grazing my skin. I fired, the gunshot deafening in the small room. He stumbled back, clutching his side, but he didn't go down. Blood poured from the wound, but he kept coming, his eyes wild. I fired again and again, but he seemed unfazed. Like the bullets were nothing but pinpricks. I could feel the panic rising in my chest. We engaged in an intense battle of hand-to-hand combat, such a trained fighter he was with a paramilitary background. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to die, not fight back. Not like this. He lunged at me again, and this time, he got me. The knife plunged into my side and I screamed. The pain was blinding, searing hot. I could feel the blood pouring out of me, soaking my clothes. I fell to the floor, my vision blurring. He stood over me. breathing heavily, the knife still in his hand. He looked down at me. His expression was almost pitying. "I told you," he said softly. "You're not the first. You won't be the last." I could barely keep my eyes open. The room was spinning. The shadow was closing in. I tried to reach for my gun, but my arm felt like lead. My strength was fading, my breaths coming in shallow gasps. I could feel the life draining out of me. Cold, creeping in. He knelt down beside me, his face inches from mine. I could see the blood on his hands, feel the warmth of it mixing with my own. He whispered something in my ear, words I couldn't understand. And then he was gone. The room was empty, silent, except for the sound of my ragged breathing. I lay there, alone, my body growing colder with each passing second. My vision was fading, darkness closing in. I could feel my heart slowing, each beat weaker than the last. I knew I was dying. There was no escaping it. And then, as the last of my strength slipped away, I understood. This was my end, my final moment. I could feel it, the life draining out of me, my soul slipping away. I tried to hold on, to fight it, but it was too late. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, my thoughts drifting. Memories of my childhood flashed before my eyes, running through the dusty streets of Tijuana. My mother's warm smile, the scent of her cooking, the laughter of friends long gone, the innocent days before the darkness took over. But those memories were tainted now, overshadowed by the life I'd chosen. The faces of those I'd killed haunted me. Men, some guilty, some maybe not. Faces I'd forgotten, but whose eyes stared back at me now, accusing, condemning. The weight of my sins pressed down on me, heavier than a knife in my side. I coughed, blood bubbling up in my throat. It tasted like iron, thick and metallic. I tried to move, to crawl toward the door, but my body refused to obey. It was too weak, too far gone. I could feel the warmth of my blood pooling around me, soaking into the cracked wooden floor. The room grew darker, the shadows closing in. I could hear whispers, faint and distant like voices from another world. They called to me, beckoning. I wanted to answer, to follow them, but I was scared. Scared of what awaited me on the other side. Scared of the judgment that was surely coming. My breathing grew shallow, each breath a struggle. My chest felt tight, my heart pounding erratically. I could feel it slowing, each beat weaker than the last. My vision was almost gone now, the world a blur of darkness and shadows. I could barely make out the room around me, the edges of my vision tinged with red. I lay there, waiting for the end. The pain in my side was dull now, a distant ache. My thoughts were growing hazy, slipping away. I tried to hold on to something, anything, but it was like trying to grasp smoke. Everything was slipping through my fingers. I thought of my mother again, her face the last clear image in my mind. I wanted to see her, to tell her I was sorry. Sorry for everything, for leaving her, for the life I'd chosen, for the monster I'd become. But it was too late. I could feel myself slipping away, the darkness closing in. Then I see him, looking closer, closer and closer, a hooded figure making his way closer to me, the further I get from life. Oh my God, it's him. It's the Reaper. Yes, the Grim Reaper. Almost almost exactly as the images were shown as kids, only far more sinister than we could ever imagine. Shrouded in a cloak of shadowy black, its fabric tattered and frayed as if worn by centuries of wear. The hood, pulled low, obscures the face entirely, revealing only an impenetrable void where eyes should be. A darkness that seems to absorb all the light around it. From within the depths of the hood, an icy, malevolent chill emanates, freezing the air and stifling breath. I thought it folklore, but here he is. He's here, looking down on me, waiting for me to die. The last thing I see after a long stare-off was a demonic hand of bones reach out at me. And then, with one final shuddering breath, I was gone. The darkness swallowed me. The pain, the fear, the regret. There was nothing left. No light, no sound. Just the cold embrace of death.